My name is Niall Murphy. I'm founder and CEO of a company called Evrythng. I'm a serial technology entrepreneur. This company is just about a year a bit old. Prior to that, I founded a company called The Cloud, which is a Wi-Fi network operator based here in the UK, sold to BSkyB in 2011. I'm going to give you a couple of different perspectives. It's a really interesting discussion this morning in terms of sort of what is the Internet of Things and where are the here and now market opportunities and what are the kind of key enablers that make this market space come about. So I'm going to take some perspective on that. I guess the point of view that I put forward is that I think that identity is a critical element. So this is a LinkedIn identity. Probably everybody in this room has a LinkedIn identity or a Facebook identity. And that social graph that at the center of which your digital identity, your social network identity exists, has become a major application ecosystem, a major platform. The role of identity at every phase of the internet has been absolutely critical. If we couldn't secure the identity of servers with certs, we wouldn't have e-commerce because you wouldn't be able to trust the servers that you're interacting with. And an entire ecosystem and economy exists as a consequence of that enabling technology. Social network identities have created an online presence for us, which is more than just a database entry of me somewhere within a database on the web. It's actually a transactional profile. It's an agglomeration of metadata about me and from me and so on. And it exists persistently, independently of whether I happen to be connected or not at a given moment in time. Right now, there are transactions occurring against my web profile that are delivering value to people, and I'm currently not engaged in those activities, and that's an important phenomenon. So, in that guise, the hypothesis that I'd put forward is that identity for physical things on the web is a crucial enabler of making the Internet of Things come about. And if we step back to the last major application wave within the internet, the sort of Web 2.0 wave, what was happening there was that mashing up became possible. The discovery and ad hoc assembly of resources on the internet, hashtagged elements or tagged images within Flickr, video clips within YouTube, the ease with which you can combine and integrate those resources and formulate applications was a crucial thing. Just absolutely exploded the web application ecosystem, and technologies like Ajax and so forth are all about very rapid application development, assembling and ad hoc organizing that information. What's interesting is that the contributors to the information can't necessarily see what the application value is that's going to come out of it. The application that comes out of it is the networking of all those different data components. So when we think about the Internet of Things, I sort of take the view, well, why can't we make physical resources, physical objects, part of that Web 2.0 space in exactly the same way? Why can't I mash up a bus along with a Flickr image or a location record from Facebook Places, right? And so there's an engineering mindset and model that we've had, and we've heard a bit of it today, which is very vertically integrated, right? We start talking about Zigbee radios and IPv6 addresses and all the rest. That's a very long way from the application ecosystem. The application ecosystem cares about the actual data that's arising from all this. And the critical lubricant is how to make that data as easy to mash up and integrate as possible, and applications developed as fast as possible. So taking that kind of focus, the hypothesis is that every single object in the world should have a web identity, and a technology, so this is my shameless plug, a technology that we would put forward about that is something which we call active digital identities. But the computer science notion of this is creating a web object that represents a physical object. So an identity for a physical thing exactly the same way as a Facebook page provides a digital identity for me as a human being. And that web object is autonomous, it's persistently present on the internet, its addressing scheme and the volume of it is limited by how many URLs we can come up with, which is effectively limitless as opposed to how many IP addresses we can come up with. And it can be interacted with by means of lightweight protocols, APIs, using standards like RESTful standards and so forth, but lightweight web protocols that I can query the car and say, where are you and what are you doing, utilizing today's web programming tools. And if we can make that possible, then we can provision applications very fast, and we can join the data about where the car is and what it's doing with some sensor data from the side of the road and some images that are coming in from somebody who happens to take a photo and post them into Flickr or Picasso or whatever the case might be. So that's a perspective, is the concept of thinking of the web of things as opposed to the internet of things, and how we get the networking of that data to be as fluid and fast as possible. Now the other theme is to say, well, where is the emerging market of the Internet of Things? And we talk a lot about industrial machinery and so forth, and all of that is an absolutely critical market. When I'm, as a startup entrepreneur, I'm interested in who's going to pay me money today and where is a large market today. So obviously, you know, I don't intend to stick radios in the back of packets of washing powder, but the point here is that this particular product is provided by a company called Procter & Gamble. Procter & Gamble ship 40 billion products into the market every year. That's 40 billion things that can become Internet of Things, perhaps, right? And that, I believe, is where there is an emerging market opportunity right now, and certainly one that I'm investing in. It's by no means not the only one, but it's an interesting one. So when we think forward and we talk about, you know, actuated objects and so on, how do we think about the Internet of Things in terms of here and now and that kind of use case? So the problem that's interesting out there is that conventionally there's been a big gap between the manufacturers of things and the consumers of things. When a product gets produced, it goes out through a supply chain, it goes through distributors. I'm talking about physical products. It ends up in a store and a consumer walks in there and buys it. But the disruption that's being brought into this world now is that these consumers are running around with smartphones, right? They have an ability to bring connectivity, sensor capabilities and so forth to the products that they buy. And that therefore allows us to potentially join this stuff up. Obviously, people are interested in getting as much value out of their products as they possibly can. And so there's an interesting thought experiment to say, well, how does the Internet of Things start to play a role in this? So if I'm taking an example of a guitar, so Gibson makes a guitar, my partner Andy would be standing here as a musician, and he'd be waxing on about his guitar, but I'm not, so I'll still talk about the guitar. So the process today is that a manufacturer of a guitar will sell it to you. But what starts to become possible now is if that guitar has its own digital presence as well as its physical presence, well, I can take digital possession of it. I can check into it, say, with my social network identity. And I can do that for very functional reasons like enabling the warranty, right? But I can also start to see the guitar becoming augmented with digital experiences. So I'm playing the guitar, I'm riffing away, I want to have everything I do with that guitar streamed into the web and stored so I can kind of figure out what I was doing yesterday afternoon and go back and find it. And that's an extension and augmentation of the physical product. We've seen initial forays of this type of phenomenon. Nike, for example, with Nike Plus, is a really great proof point of a physical product becoming augmented with digital services that are personal to you, right? So your running shoe stops being a generic running shoe. It's now that specific running shoe that has with it all the data about where I ran and how fast I was going and what my heartbeat was and so forth at that particular moment. And I contend that that augmentation of products, we call making products smart, is a key emerging market opportunity around the Internet of Things. Getting back to the technology of this is made possible if we can start to connect the unique identity of the physical thing with my unique identity as a digital human being, right? And as soon as I do that, I then create an interesting envelope of communication between me and that individual product, or stated another way, the data space that exists around my relationship with that particular product becomes an application zone. And that can be delivered to me, not through the byte, suddenly sprouting a screen. I don't need it to do that. I can bring a screen to it with my smartphone, and applications and services can be brought to that. So just as a perspective, that's where commercially we're focusing on, working with manufacturers to augment their physical products today with digital services, and do that motivated by really practical things, like knowing who's buying their stuff. That's a very valuable economy to manufacturers, and Internet of Things technology starts to make that possible. Obviously, then extending the product driven by data allows it to be personalized and customized and automated and so on. And that can evolve to a space where we get products which are a combination of the physical manifestation of the product and its data-driven behaviors. So we go back to the technological point of departure. I guess the fundamental thesis I'm saying is that when we start thinking about the ecosystem of the Internet of Things, we should be thinking about it from the point of view of the data that's arising from those things. The ability to achieve connectivity of objects is a solvable problem. There's multiple technologies to do it, and every one of them is applicable to different use cases. The mistake, in my humble opinion, is to see that as each one of those as silos of application. So it might be appropriate for me to connect this machine here with an Ethernet cable. It might be appropriate for me to connect this doorway with an NFC tag. Those are just the relevant connectivity technologies. What we really want to do is get the data about all of those things flowing into the cloud. If we can get that flowing into the cloud in an intelligent, structured, semantically organized way, then we can start to network the data, and that's when things get really exciting. Because when the data becomes discoverable, when you can search for things and discover this pillar on the wall with a sensor attached to it through a Google search, now suddenly you can really drive powerful applications. And that's the space that certainly we want to focus on. So what we see are these smart objects that represent physical things out there on the web, existing within the cloud, and those being able to become networked in the sense that, well, I can now point one URL at another URL. The URL happens to be the web object of a physical thing. So I can connect my Facebook identity with my identity of my mountain bike or of my car or what have you. And applications can look across that heterogeneous set of data, because every object is different, and not deal with each one of those as a bespoke protocol, but deal with them all as just web objects that they can mash up and they can generate interesting things up. That's all I wanted to say, right? So that's all I wanted to say.